Any advice from Mr. Mudley then, Kerissa?
Hi, Mr. Mudley. Well, it goes according to your trust deed. It depends. What is the minimum number of trustees that the trust deed states? It usually states that there's a minimum of 2. So if one of the trustees is now deceased, what the other trustees can do is depending on the minimum amount of trustees, they can either just advise the Master of the High Court that the one trustee is now deceased and obtain a new letters of authority, or they could also get a replacing trustee. A replacing trustee may be nominated in the deceased trustee's will, or the other remaining trustees could nominate a trustee, and that new trustee could be appointed. There are a certain amount of documents that needs to be drafted, and those documents are then lodged at the Master of the High Court with either the original letters of authority or a copy, and then a new letters of authority is then given back to the trustees.
I hope that helps, Mr. Mudley. What's the second question, sir?
Well, Mr. Mudley, it depends according to your trust deed. So usually in trust deed they have a minimum of 2. As per the requirements of the Master's Office now, you have to have a minimum of 2. So it could be 5, it could be 2, but ideally it should be an odd number. So we would preferably advise you to have a minimum of those 3 trustees.
Well, 3 trustees would be a good number then, even though the minimum's 2, but 3 if you are planning one, Mr. Mudley. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mudley, okay, Mr. Mudley, it sounds as though you're talking about a retirement fund. I take it. It was a, yeah. You see, in the case of a retirement fund, if you nominate beneficiaries, then those nominations will stand and will hold upon your death. So, in other words, whoever you've nominated as the beneficiary in terms of the retirement benefits, that money will be paid directly by the trustees to those relevant beneficiaries. However, remember, in a retirement fund, there is a discretion on the part of the trustees. So if you nominate, for example, let's say you nominated your spouse, and it shows that your mum and your spouse are financially dependent upon you, then what would happen is that the trustees, when they have a look at dependency, they will find that your mum was also dependent on you, perhaps not 100% or not 50%, but maybe 20%. So then they could override your nomination to say, I wanted all my benefits to be paid to my spouse. They would then override that, and they will pay 80% of the benefits to your spouse and perhaps 20% to your mum. So remember, they have that overriding factor, but it's got nothing to do with your own.